Welcome to Mr. Horror. Today, we have 3 true food delivery horror stories that will make you think twice before hitting that order button. From poisonings to kidnappings, these tales are sure to send shivers down your spine. So hold on tight and get ready for a wild ride into the dark side of food delivery. It was a typical Friday evening for Emily, who was spending her night alone in her small apartment. As she binge-watched her favorite TV shows, Emily's stomach grumbled, reminding her that she hadn't eaten dinner yet. Not wanting to leave the comfort of her cozy apartment, Emily decided to order some food online. As she scrolled through the various food delivery apps on her phone, Emily stumbled upon a new app that she had never used before. Its name was Nightbite, and it claimed to deliver the best late-night meals straight to your doorstep. Without hesitation, Emily downloaded the app and placed an order for a burger and fries. She eagerly waited for her food to arrive, but as the minutes turned into hours, Emily began to feel uneasy. She tried calling the restaurant, but the number was disconnected. Just as she was about to give up hope, there was a knock on her door. Emily excitedly opened it, only to be met with an eerie silence. There was no delivery person in sight, but her food was sitting on the ground in front of her door. Emily shrugged it off and went back to her TV shows, chowing down on her delicious meal. But something about the taste of the food seemed off. It was almost as if there was a strange, metallic flavor that she couldn't quite place. As the night went on, Emily started to feel sick. Her head was pounding, and her stomach was in knots. She tried to brush it off as a bad reaction to the new app, but as she lay in bed, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Little did Emily know, this was only the beginning of a nightmare that she would never forget. The next day, Emily woke up feeling worse than ever. She had a fever, and her body ached all over. She called in sick to work and spent the day in bed, trying to sleep off her illness. But no matter how much she rested, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. That night, Emily's phone buzzed with a notification from Nightbite. It was a reminder to rate her delivery experience from the previous night. Emily was about to give the app a glowing review when she noticed something strange. There were hundreds of one-star reviews, all claiming that the food was contaminated and that the delivery drivers were nowhere to be found. Emily's heart sank as she read through the reviews. She realized that she had made a terrible mistake by ordering from this app, and now she was paying the price. Suddenly, Emily's doorbell rang. She hesitated for a moment, wondering if she should answer it, but curiosity got the best of her. She cautiously opened the door, only to find a small package sitting on her doorstep. Inside was a handwritten note that read, "Sorry for the inconvenience. We hope you enjoy your free meal." Emily's heart raced as she opened the package, revealing a plate of steaming hot spaghetti. She knew she shouldn't eat it, but her hunger and curiosity got the best of her. She took a bite and immediately regretted it. The taste was off, and she could feel a strange, tingling sensation in her mouth. Emily's mind raced as she realized what was happening. She had been poisoned, and now she was trapped in her own home with no way out. She tried calling for help, but her phone was dead. She tried to leave her apartment, but the door was locked from the outside. Emily was trapped, and she knew that her time was running out. Emily's heart raced as she realized that she had been poisoned. She felt trapped in her own home with no way out. She tried calling for help, but her phone was dead. She tried to leave her apartment, but the door was locked from the outside. Emily knew that she had to act fast if she wanted to survive. She searched her apartment for anything that could help her, but all she found were a few basic tools and some leftover food from her last grocery trip. As Emily's symptoms worsened, she knew that she had to find a way to escape. She tried breaking the window with a hammer, but it wouldn't budge. She tried prying open the door with a screwdriver, but it was no use. Emily was trapped, and she knew that she was running out of time. As the night wore on, Emily's symptoms became more severe. Her head was pounding, and she could feel her body growing weaker by the minute. She knew that she couldn't hold on for much longer. Suddenly, she heard a faint noise coming from outside her apartment. It sounded like someone was trying to pick the lock on her door. Emily's heart raced as she realized that she might have a chance to escape. She rushed to the door, pounding on it with all her might. "Help, help me," she screamed, hoping that whoever was on the other side would hear her. After what felt like an eternity, the lock finally clicked open, and Emily stumbled out into the hallway. As she looked around, Emily saw a group of people in dark hoodies standing in front of her. They were holding small, silver canisters that emitted a strange gas. Emily tried to run, but her body was too weak. She collapsed onto the ground, helpless and alone. The last thing Emily remembered was the sound of someone saying, "We got her." When Emily woke up, she was in a dimly lit room with no windows or doors. She was lying on a cold metal table, and her arms and legs were strapped down. She tried to move, but her body was too weak. She realized that she was trapped once again. As her eyes adjusted to the darkness, Emily saw a figure emerge from the shadows. It was a man in a lab coat holding a clipboard. He introduced himself as Dr. Smith and explained that she was now part of a secret experiment to test the effects of a new chemical compound. Emily's heart sank as she realized that she was being held captive by a group of deranged scientists. She knew that she had to escape before it was too late. But as Emily tried to break free from her restraints, she realized that it was no use. She was too weak to fight back, and the scientists were too well armed to be taken down by force. As she lay there, trapped and alone, Emily wondered if she would ever see the outside world again. She knew that she had to keep fighting if she wanted to survive. But how could she escape from a place where there was no escape? The nightmare had only just begun. Emily lay on the cold metal table, her arms and legs still bound tightly to it. She could feel her heart racing as Dr. Smith approached her, holding a syringe filled with a glowing green liquid. "I'm sorry, Emily," he said, "but we need to finish the experiment. You won't feel a thing, I promise." Emily struggled against her restraints, but it was no use. She knew that she had to think fast if she wanted to survive. She closed her eyes and focused all her energy on breaking free from the straps. As she concentrated, she felt a sudden surge of strength coursing through her body. With one powerful motion, she broke free from the restraints and knocked Dr. Smith to the ground. Emily scrambled to her feet and ran towards the door. She could hear the sound of alarms blaring in the distance, and she knew that she had to get out of there fast. As she ran down the dimly lit hallway, Emily could feel her strength fading. She stumbled and fell to the ground, her body too weak to keep going. But just as she was about to give up, she felt a hand on her shoulder. It was a group of men in hazmat suits, there to rescue her from the clutches of the mad scientists. Emily felt a wave of relief wash over her as she realized that she was finally safe. As the men helped her out of the facility, Emily could feel the warmth of the sun on her face. It was the first time she had seen the outside world in what felt like an eternity. Emily knew that she had survived a nightmare that few people could ever imagine. She had been poisoned, kidnapped, and experimented on, but she had never given up hope. Now she was free, and she was determined to make the most of her second chance at life. Emily looked back at the facility, watching as it disappeared into the distance. She knew that she would never forget the horror she had endured, but she was also grateful for the strength and resilience that it had taught her. As she walked towards her new life, Emily felt a sense of hope and gratitude that she had never felt before. She knew that she had survived the unimaginable and that nothing would ever hold her back again. The nightmare was finally over, and Emily was ready to face whatever came next with courage and determination. Samantha had always been a night owl, preferring to work late into the evening and sleep in until noon. But with the pandemic raging on, she found herself cooped up in her apartment, craving the taste of her favorite food from her favorite restaurant. So, one night, Samantha decided to take a chance and order delivery for the first time. She quickly found an app that offered food delivery from a wide range of local restaurants. She scrolled through the options, eventually settling on a popular sushi spot. After placing her order and paying online, she went back to work, eagerly waiting for her meal to arrive. As the time ticked on, Samantha grew more and more anxious. She checked the app repeatedly, but the delivery status remained in progress. Finally, after an hour had passed, she received a notification that her food had been delivered. Samantha rushed to the door, eager to grab her meal and dig in. But when she opened the door, she was met with an empty hallway. There was no delivery person in sight, but her food was sitting on the ground in front of her door. Samantha hesitated for a moment, wondering if she should eat the food, but her hunger and impatience got the best of her, and she picked up the bag and brought it inside. As she opened the containers, the smell of raw fish filled her nostrils, but something about it seemed off. The sushi looked and smelled strange, almost as if it had been sitting out for too long. Samantha brushed it off as a simple mistake, thinking that the restaurant must have been overwhelmed with orders. But as she ate her meal, Samantha started to feel a strange sensation in her mouth. It was as if her tongue was tingling, and she could feel a strange pressure building in her head. Panicking, Samantha rushed to the bathroom and looked in the mirror. Her face was swollen, and her lips were turning blue. She knew that something was terribly wrong. Samantha stumbled back to her living room, grabbing her phone to call for help. But as she tried to dial 911, she realized that her fingers weren't working. Her vision blurred, and she collapsed onto the floor, unable to move. The last thing Samantha remembered was the sound of her own heartbeat fading into silence as she slipped into unconsciousness. Little did Samantha know, she had just become the latest victim in a horrifying trend of food delivery poisonings. And the nightmare was only just beginning. When Samantha woke up, she found herself lying in a hospital bed with tubes and wires attached to her body. She could hear the sound of beeping machines and muffled voices in the distance. A nurse entered the room, looking relieved to see that Samantha was awake. She explained that Samantha had been found unconscious in her apartment and rushed to the hospital. The doctors had detected a strange toxin in her system, but they didn't know what it was or where it had come from. Samantha tried to explain that she had ordered sushi delivery the night before, but the nurse just shook her head. "I'm sorry, dear, but we can't be sure what caused this. You're lucky to be alive." Samantha couldn't believe what she was hearing. How could this happen to her? She had trusted the food delivery app and the restaurant, but now she was paying the price. As the days passed, Samantha's condition slowly improved. She was able to speak with the police and the doctors, telling them everything she remembered about the delivery and the restaurant. They promised to investigate, but Samantha knew that it might be too late. She started to receive messages from other victims, all telling similar stories of poisoned food deliveries and mysterious illnesses. It seemed like there was a dangerous ring of food delivery drivers and restaurant workers who were intentionally contaminating the food. Samantha felt angry and betrayed. How could people be so cruel and heartless? She knew that she had to do something to stop them. Samantha started doing her own research, scouring the internet for clues and leads. She discovered a group of activists who were fighting against food delivery poisonings, and she reached out to them for help. Together, they organized a protest outside the food delivery app's headquarters, demanding that they take responsibility for the poison deliveries and make changes to protect their customers. The protest gained national attention, and soon the app was forced to make changes. They implemented stricter background checks and safety protocols for their drivers and restaurant partners, and they promised to work with law enforcement to investigate any reports of poisonings. Samantha felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. She had turned her nightmare into a mission to protect others from the same fate. But the danger was not yet over. As Samantha continued to investigate, she uncovered a web of corruption and greed that went far deeper than she had ever imagined. The ring of poisoners was still at large, and they would stop at nothing to protect their profits. Samantha knew that she was in danger, but she refused to back down. She would fight until the end to stop these criminals and make the world a safer place for all food delivery customers. As Samantha continued her investigation into the food delivery poisonings, she knew that she was putting herself in danger. But she was determined to see it through to the end, no matter the cost. She teamed up with a group of activists and investigative journalists, working tirelessly to uncover the truth behind the ring of poisoners. It wasn't easy, and they faced countless setbacks and roadblocks, but they refused to give up. Finally, after months of investigation, they had a breakthrough. They discovered that the poisoners were part of a larger criminal organization involved in everything from drug trafficking to human trafficking. The food delivery poisonings were just one small part of their vast criminal enterprise. Samantha and her team worked with law enforcement to bring down the criminal organization. It was a risky move, and they knew that their lives were on the line, but they refused to let fear stop them. In a coordinated raid, law enforcement arrested dozens of members of the criminal organization, including the Ring of Poisoners. Samantha watched as the criminals were led away in handcuffs, feeling a sense of satisfaction and relief. But the danger was not over yet. As Samantha left the courthouse, she felt a chill run down her spine. She knew that the remaining members of the organization would be looking for revenge. Samantha started receiving threatening messages, warning her to stop her investigation or suffer the consequences. She tried to stay vigilant, but she knew that she couldn't do it alone. That's when she received an unexpected message from an anonymous source. The message contained information about the remaining members of the criminal organization and their plans to retaliate against Samantha. The source offered to help Samantha, but she was hesitant. How could she trust someone she didn't even know? But she knew that she had no other choice. Samantha met with the source, a mysterious figure dressed in all black. They told her that they were part of a group of hackers and activists who had been monitoring the criminal organization for years. They offered to help Samantha take down the organization once and for all. Together, they launched a massive cyber attack against the organization, exposing their illegal activities and bringing them to justice. The remaining members of the organization were arrested, and Samantha finally felt safe again. As she looked back on her journey, Samantha knew that she had accomplished something incredible. She had taken a terrifying experience and turned it into a mission to make the world a safer place. Samantha's story became a national sensation, inspiring others to stand up against injustice and fight for change. She was hailed as a hero, a symbol of courage and resilience in the face of adversity. And while Samantha knew that the danger would never truly be over, she also knew that she had the strength and the support to face it head-on. She was ready for whatever came next, confident that she could overcome any challenge and emerge stronger on the other side. Thank you for watching this horrific real-life horror story about food delivery. Please like, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell to be notified of our upcoming videos if you like this one. Never forget that millions of people worldwide are affected by the critical problem of online safety. Never lose focus and never let your guard down. And don't be afraid to ask for assistance if you or someone you know has fallen victim to cybercrime. You don't have to suffer in silence because there are resources available. Once again, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.